Good morning. I'm Pastor Delisa here at Prince of Peace Ministries Church.
And I'm Prophet Ron.
We're here today to go over chapter 1 in the book of Proverbs, where we are going to be doing our study. Today is January 1st, 2016, and so we'll begin with Prophet Ron reading verses 1 through 9, and then we will discuss the chapter.
Verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. For gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning. Let the discerning get guidance. For understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction.
That's true. Well, as we see here, it starts out telling us basically in the chapter that if you're wise, you're going to listen and you're going to hear the things that are being told to you. It tells us that when we receive instruction and wisdom, then it allows us to be able to judge situations accordingly. When it talks about in verse 4 to give stability to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion, when we look at that word simple, it means only young, naive persons that are open to outside influences. You know, when we get a little older, we've already been through that stage. But we want to tell the young not to be naive, because God gives great words of wisdom and clarity for us.
Right.
Now it says that the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord, and the fool despises wisdom and instruction. What's so important about that, when we look at the fear of the Lord, all that simply means is submission. When you're afraid of something, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to run from it, or you're going to submit to it. And so we pray that you submit to God, not because of anything except that He's worthy. He's worthy of the praise. And so if you have the fear of the Lord, then you would submit to Him and submit to His instructions. And if you don't have wisdom, guess what? If you're a fool, you despise wisdom and instruction. Meaning no one can't tell you anything. No one can't give you anything to encourage you, anything to show you and lead you in the right path. You know, young people always say, us older folks, don't know what we're talking about. That was back in the old day. But one thing for sure, wisdom has been around a very long time. We see that here from Solomon.
Amen.
And so because of that, there's not too much that has happened that doesn't keep going around in a circle. So this book is going to encourage us to make sure that we can do the right thing. And you can only do the right thing if you choose to listen and follow the instructions that are given here. You have anything that you think you want to add, Ron?
Yeah. In submitting, we need to develop a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's very important.
It's the most important thing.
And we find all the do's and don'ts right here in wisdom of what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
And one thing about it, when you follow wisdom, it leads to one of two things. Verse 8 says it's a ornament of grace on your head, or it's a chain about your neck. And don't you know, when you do things that are negative, wrong, when you follow the wrong crowd, as we see when it's talking in verses 10 through 19, if you let the wrong crowd lead you down the wrong path, guess what happens? You're setting yourself up for future destruction. And one thing for sure, what you sow, you will reap. And so it's important to sow seeds of good so that you can always reap seeds of good.
Yeah.
And when you have that grace upon your neck, when you do the things that are right in the sight of God, he blesses you with favor. When you do the things that are wrong, that chain about your neck is simply that you'll get caught up in some of the consequences of your actions. You know, that's what Proverbs is pretty much telling us. When you do certain things, you get consequences for your actions. You don't get away with it scot-free. And don't you know, if it seems like you get away scot-free, God is still on the throne, and he sees and he knows everything. So you don't get away scot-free.
Then he tells us about the blessings that in serving him and being an obedient servant.
Absolutely. And so he also tells us, when we're talking in verses 20 through 33, it basically is talking about being rebuked, or being the disapproval for doing the wrong thing. And as we tell you that that's the wrong thing, that you shouldn't do it, well, either you're going to accept that wisdom and that knowledge, or you're going to reject it. And if you choose to reject it, it comes with a consequence. And it says in verse 22, "How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorner delight in scorning, and fools hate knowledge." So that tells us, how long are you going to be naive? How long will you enjoy being naive? How long will you continually be a fool hating knowledge? It's important, very important, that we follow after the things that God would have us. And so that's what we see here in the first chapter in the book of Proverbs.
Verse 33, "But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm."
Isn't that awesome to know? One thing I know for sure, when you're living right and doing what God would have you to do, you don't have to look behind your back. You don't have to look over your shoulder, because I know when you're out there doing your dirty deeds, you know, we've all been out there at one point or another, but as we learn better, we do better. And when we learn better and we do better, then we pass on what we've learned. I found one thing for sure. Wisdom is letting someone else who has already experienced let you know what the outcome is going to be, so that you don't have to go through that outcome. However, experience says I have to try it for myself, hit my head up against the wall, even though wisdom told me what would happen. Get that end result. So we desire today that you take wisdom, that you don't have to hit your head up against that wall, but you can be blessed by seeing the outcome of what someone else went through, and knowing that God has you in mind. You don't have to worry about anything but dwelling in safety. And you don't have to be in fear from evil, because God is our protector and he's our guide. And so as we go forward, we pray that as you read the whole chapter of 1 of Proverbs, that you are blessed. But we hope that we were able to enlighten you with a few words on today. Anything else you want to add?
The only thing I'd like to say is pray for America. God bless America.
We definitely need to pray for America. Our country is in a bad state, but to God still be the glory. We just want to let you know we love you.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Be blessed.